Hey, welcome back. Simon Lees here again. I'm going to give you a guitar lesson today. I've got my guitar with me. I'm going to actually show you something. Now then, have a listen to these riffs. Another one. Etc. Now, all those riffs have got one thing in common. They all use what I call the Brian May chord. The Brian May chord, it sounds like that, you know. Obviously, not all those riffs were by Brian May, but Brian May is kind of, I don't know, I always associate that sound, that type of chord with the man from Queen. And the way I tend to think about it is if I'm playing a chord which is either an open A chord, which, you know, open A is normally just the three fingers in a line like that, which people often do with just one finger. So you use your first finger to press down the D, the G, and the B strings. So it's much easier to do it that way. Now then, just as a couple of little details on that, my thumb is just muting the fat E string there, so I've just got that resting on. It's not hooked over like this. It's not sticking out 6 inches. You know, it's just literally just where my thumb bends is just behind the corner of the neck. So I've just got the pad of my thumb just touching the fat E string. My index finger is bent inwards, so it's not bent outwards, because if it was, I wouldn't be able to press 3 strings down. So you've got to get it bending that way. And if you notice, I've got the whole of my first finger in front of the fingerboard. Now, we might have seen this on one of my other videos, but my finger's not pulled back like that. It shouldn't look like this. You've got to push your finger forwards, and that'll encourage it to bend the way you want it to. So if you look there, you'll see that's what I see when I'm looking on top of my own hand. There's my index finger is kind of forming a triangle shape with the fretboard as one of the sides. So that's what you want. So if your finger's pulled back like that, it won't work. Forget it. You got to push it forwards, get your wrist bending downwards slightly, have your thumb pointing slightly towards the guitar body, not away from the body. So it's got to point slightly that way, and you'll be set up. Now then, what I'm adding to that are 2 notes, and the first note, I'm using my second finger just to play a note on the 3rd fret on the B string. So that's there. So I say I've just got my second finger on there. So it starts off just my first finger. Then to make the Brian May chord bit, I'm using my second finger there on the next fret, and then on the next fret after that, I've got my 3rd finger on the D string, and I'll put these 2 fingers down at the same time. That's how this Brian May chord works. So these 2 fingers, your 2nd and 3rd fingers, have to work as a team. You know, they sort of work together. So they go on together and they come off together. Okay, so. Probably the most famous song that isn't played by Brian May but uses a Brian May chord is All Right Now, you know. So that's a good reference if you forget what it should sound like, you know. But the other riff I played, that's the verse section from Crazy Train, and the other one was Hammer to Fall, which was a Queen song. and the other one's pretty obvious, I think. We Will Rock You, you know. So those are the great examples of songs that use this. The way you can use this in your own stuff is if you've got a song, say you might have a song that's A, D and E, pretty common chords, you know, so you could play sort of... that might not always work every time, but the idea is I'm using the Brian May chord on A-shaped bar chords. What I mean by an A-shaped bar chord is if you take an open A chord and slide it further up the neck, so so if I slid it from the 2nd fret to the 7th fret, I need to make that into a bar chord for it to work. And so because the open A chord has a gap there, because your fingers go on the 2nd fret, not the 1st fret, I've got to leave a gap there on the 6th fret. And my bar finger will go on the 5th fret. Now my bar finger is my 1st finger, so I need to rearrange my fingers. So this is what a classical guitarist would probably do. So you'd bar the 5th fret, and that'd be... I'd call that an A-shaped D chord, but I would not tend to play it with 3 fingers there. I tend to play it with 1 finger going across all 3 strings. So if you've got a chord like that, you can make it into a Brian May chord just by putting your 1st finger where your 3rd finger normally goes. Don't bother playing the 2 fat strings, just concentrate on the D, G and B strings, and then you can kind of Brian Mayify it by putting your 2nd and 3rd fingers down where I mentioned before. So your second finger goes on the fret after your 1st finger, and your 3rd finger goes on the fret after that on the B string and the D strings respectively. That's pretty much all I can say about the Brian May chord, but it's a sound I've always loved it. You know, it's a kind of uplifting sound. It's a happy sound, but with that sort of guitar sound, it's also quite meaty. You know, it's satisfying, and as I say, you can play it all over the neck. Just before I leave it, there's another way you can look at the Brian May chord in terms of what it is. You know, what if I had to sort of give it its proper name? What would its proper name be? Well, when you put your 2 fingers on, your 2 extra fingers, your 2nd and 3rd fingers, what you're doing is part of a C-shaped bar chord. It's like the middle part. If I made it into a full C-shaped bar chord, it'd be like this. So I'd have to put my little finger on the next fret, and then it'd probably be less painful to just bar all the strings there. And so I call it a C-shaped bar chord because that part of it, using my, you know, where my 2nd and 3rd and my little fingers go, it's the same configuration you get on an open C chord. So open chords can all be barred. You know, so you can take a C chord and you can move it further up the neck. So if I played it there, that'd be a C-shaped F chord. If you play a normal F chord, oops, so there's it. But the Brian May part of it is just the D, G and B strings, so you don't need to stretch up with your little finger to play that. So yeah, hopefully that'll give you an idea. So if I wanted to, I don't know, say on the original, when those two fingers go on, what I'm actually doing is playing a D chord. It's a C-shaped D chord. So if I swapped it and played an actual D chord, it'd be, which doesn't sound massively different, you know, but it's a little bit more of a faff. The strings don't ring out as nicely, you know, but that's what you're actually doing. So, okay, I think that's about all I can say about the Brian May chord, except that it's brilliant, and I hope you enjoy having a go at it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.